first and new episode of Cultural Immersion 101 with me, your host, Flo. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about something that happened to me recently that I think that I could share with you a couple of tips that will help you. And that topic is how to still immerse yourself in a different culture and enjoy your experience when whatever is happening around you doesn't align with your values. Ugh, that's hard, but there's a way to do it. So basically the reason why I want to share this with you is that about a week ago I went to this annual celebration in New Caledonia that celebrated the New Yam, which was like a fabulous experience that I really am excited to share with you guys. But something that happened that started triggering me is that in addition to the yams, the vegetable that we were celebrating, the food that was served was actually turtle meat. Just thinking about it, I'm like getting a heartache. So yes, they went the night before to fish or catch 3 turtles, and I realized when they brought them out that it was actually real, like people were gonna eat turtles. And everybody's getting stuff ready for food. I'm so hungry, but I'm not eating turtle. Ew. Yeah, I'm still kind of turned off by this whole turtle thing, but I respect it. I just won't eat it. I respect the tradition. I just feel sad because I love swimming with turtles. For me, in my culture, in Martinique, we don't do that. And actually, I really enjoy interacting with turtles and like swimming with them at home. Actually, I have some videos of that, like right here. But it was just super triggering for me because I love those animals so much. But at the same time, I'm someone that always likes to challenge myself, and I knew I wasn't gonna eat them, like there was no way, but I also wanted to see what I could learn from this experience and how being really out of my comfort zone could help me in some way. So I'm gonna give you examples of that experience, but following the different tips that I want to share with you. So here we go. Tip number 1, remember where you are. You are not at home anymore. If we're talking cultural immersion, that means you're not in your culture anymore, meaning that you've now come into someone else's culture. So whatever you think that are your values and the way that things should be doesn't apply here, meaning that you are the one that's coming, is that you need to adapt yourself. And so there's this action that needs to happen where you don't forget about all your values, but you find a way to put them aside and then bring yourself back to the context of where you are right now. And how that manifested for me was like, okay, Flo, you don't eat turtle. People in Martinique mostly don't eat turtles, but you're not in Martinique, and you're not in the US, and you're not in Mayotte anymore or in Réunion. You're in New Caledonia, and these people are eating turtle. And who are you to tell them that they can eat turtle? You know what I'm saying? So that's tip number 1. Remember where you are and that you're not at home anymore and that you made that choice. That's right. All right, tip number 2. Dig deeper than what you're seeing at the surface. Yes, what I mean by that is instead of stopping to look at the situation that's like triggering you and like making you feel uncomfortable, try to understand why what is happening instead of just stopping at this is what it is and this is wrong. Because there are always reasons and yeah, there's always a root cause for whatever is happening around you. especially when we're talking about cultural things. So instead of stopping at the surface level of being like, okay, they're eating turtles, they're so evil, like, how could they kill this beautiful animal? I actually went into the situation and started talking to people about acknowledging the fact that I'm feeling uncomfortable, but also starting to ask them, okay, what is this whole turtle eating all about? How often do you do this? How do you feel about that? Are you excited to eat the turtle? Blah, blah, blah. Started talking to people. And then I realized that there was a really ancient history behind the fact that they were eating turtles, and that was like the tradition, and that not all people in New Caledonia, in Kanaki, New Caledonia, ate the turtles, but some tribes did because there were more coastal tribes, and that it was happening only once or twice a year, depending on like really big events, and that they asked for special permission to get the turtles. And like there were a lot of different factors that made me kind of calm down a little bit and understand better what was happening around me, instead of right away being like, that's what it is and that's it, and there is nothing else to understand. And we're talking about a culture here that's 4,000, maybe more years old. So going back to point number one, remembering where you are and whatever else comes with that. So I wasn't in Martinique anymore, I was in New Caledonia, and for 4,000 years these people have been eating turtles occasionally for a couple of events. That's that. Tip number 3, keep the personal separate from the general. And that comes from a place of non-judgment and basically being able to sit comfortably with how you feel personally and the way you see the things generally happening. And what I mean by that is that when I was expressing to people that I was feeling uncomfortable with the whole turtle thing, I was being very honest and I wasn't hiding the way that I was feeling. But what I tried to make clear in order to not be disrespectful to this culture is that I was feeling uncomfortable and that was my personal choices, but that I respected and that I was not judging the people for eating turtles, because I generally wasn't. Once I tried to understand a little bit better, I personally knew that I was getting triggered by this whole thing and I felt bad for the animal. But again, non-judgment, I respect the culture and I respect the tradition and I respect the fact that these people have their way of doing things, and I made my choice to come to New Caledonia to understand their culture, right? So I can't try to understand some parts of the culture and be like, I don't like that part, this part sucks, and you shouldn't eat turtles. No. I personally, Florence Turiaf from Martinique, traveling around the world, will not eat turtle, and I don't like that the turtles are getting killed. I'm not saying that you're wrong for eating turtles and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that and that's so mean. No, that's not the place that I'm coming from. Personal opinion, being radically honest about how I was feeling, so that the people, I'm not pretending to be someone that I'm not, but also making it clear that I respect their tradition. And some people really appreciated that I was sharing that with them. Cool. My tip number 4, that's a challenge. Try to remain in the experience and still find a way to participate without having to feel too uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is that instead of right away after getting triggered, going into shelter mode and removing yourself from the situation, try to stay and sit in the discomfort. And I know not many people are willing to do that, but I think it's really important because that's where the magic happens. That's where the growth happens. And when you're talking about cultural immersion and learning from other cultures and growing as an individual as a result of getting out there and learning about different people, you need to be able to sit in discomfort, like uncomfortable moments, and kind of see what happens and how you're able to deal with challenging situations that might not be aligned with your values, but also still be able to immerse yourself and communicate with other people and just learn from them, even though what they're doing is not necessarily aligned with your values. So that's a bit of a challenge, but really try to just find a way to still participate in what's happening without necessarily removing yourself from the situation or triggering yourself too much. So for me, what that looked like was, okay, they're over there stuffing turtles in some kind of bags to put in the oven. I'm not gonna do that, that's too much for me, but I can go and help with putting the yams in the different plates that we have, so I can keep participating in the event and still not go too far. So there's always a way to kind of manage like that comfort zone and that stretching zone, which brings me to tip number 5. Don't go into your panic zone. The panic zone is a place where you go and you feel like you're freaking out and you just want to scream and you want to throw up and you want to cry and just like everything is going wrong and you're just like, why am I here? There is really no need for you to go that far. You're not serving anyone. You're making the people around you uncomfortable and triggering them, and you're just making yourself feel horrible. You don't need to be doing that. So a good place to go is your stretching zone, which I talk about in my guide on my website, actually, if you want to look into that. The difference between stretching zone and panic zone. The stretching zone is the zone that's right outside of your comfort zone, where you're doing new things that are kind of like challenging you and are like, ooh, like, I'm not sure about this, but I'm gonna try it out. And there is growth that happens from that moment and that experience. However, the panic zone is when you've gone too far, so far out of what you're comfortable with, like out of your values, what you believe in. Like the panic zone for me would have been to eat turtles, like, because if I was like so afraid of like offending people, I would have eaten the turtle, and then I would have probably like gotten sick from just like the mental thing of it. And like imagine if I was throwing up in, like during the meal, like that would be too much for me and for them, you know? So don't go into your panic zone, just chill, don't stay in that comfort zone too much, get into the stretching zone, get some stretching going, just stretch, stretch. Okay, that's enough. Last but not least, tip number 6, celebrate yourself and celebrate this moment. How amazing is it that you're going out there somewhere in the world, experiencing new cultures and challenging yourself to get to know something that's different from what you're used to? Like, that's amazing. Even the fact that you're doing this, like even the act of taking that plane to go somewhere that's unfamiliar for you is something that you should celebrate yourself for, because you're automatically gonna get some growth from that stretching zone, right? So make sure you're, instead of being too hard on yourself and overthinking this whole experience that's like making you feel comfortable, just stay present in the moment and remember you're already doing awesome for even being here. And if something is really too much for you, like even if the experience just feels like it's like really this whole thing is in my panic zone, go home and do something else. At least you would have tried, you know? So that would be my last thing that I want to recommend that you do, is celebrating yourself for even going there and trying it out. And just remember that there isn't much growth that will happen in your comfort zone. So keep going out there, keep discovering the world, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep inspiring the people around you. All right, that's it for today, and I promise I'll be uploading some more videos as things come up for the Cultural Immersion 101 series. All right. Okay, let me know what you think, if you've been in a similar situation before and how you've dealt with it before, and what other tools and techniques you've had for still enjoying your cultural immersion experience while also remaining true to your values. Alright, I'm sending you guys lots of love and light, and I'll see you in the next episode.